Bitcoin is finally fulfilling the Uptober prophecy, as the price is ripping towards all-time highs today. 100,000 Canadian loonies is already down. Is 100,000 US dollars next? And with Bitcoin ripping, we take a look at some interesting data that tells us that while many are seeing the problem, most are still missing the solution staring them in the face. So what is it that the majority of people are still missing when it comes to Bitcoin? Could it have something to do with the latest BRICS meeting in Russia and the continued trend of de-dollarization? What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pure Bitcoin Signal. I'm Hurley, Director of Content with Swan. Now let's get into it. Bitcoin has started the week and is ending October very strong as it rips through the $70,000 resistance level and it gets ever closer to the current all-time high of just over $73,000. Canadian Bitcoiners can think about removing their laser eyes as it surpassed 100,000 Canadian loonies today for the first time ever. But no one's actually doing that because everyone knows that Canadian dollars aren't real. Even though Bitcoin is getting closer and closer to reaching all-time highs once again, Google's search interest is still very low, not even coming close to the 2017 and 2021 peak hype phase of previous cycles. It seems like the vast majority of people are still missing the point completely, even though more and more of them are starting to see the problem. This chart spells out just how much people are missing the solution. It shows the most important issues for voters by age group, and inflation, the problem, is at the top of all age groups, and the solution, crypto, or more specifically Bitcoin, is at the bottom. So why is it that so many people are seeing the problem with our monetary system, but so few are seeing the solution staring them in the face? It seems that Bitcoin's outperformance of everything by a massive margin over the last 10 years isn't enough for people. I think a big part of the problem is recency bias. It's so easy to get wrapped up in Bitcoin in the view of it as a US phenomenon like big tech stocks. What many are missing is that this is a global, non-sovereign asset that trades 24/7 on every continent in the world. And with the US election dominating the North American psyche, it's easy to forget that the market for a free and open global monetary network that runs on the internet is worldwide. And it includes many other powerful nations that are not particularly happy with the current financial system backed by the US dollar. Van Eck's head of digital asset research, Matthew Siegel, was on CNBC yesterday talking about this.
Our bet is that this is a very bullish setup for Bitcoin into the election. We saw the exact same pattern in 2020 where Bitcoin lagged with low volatility, and then once a winner was announced, we had a high vol rally as new buyers come into this market. And that's the great thing about Bitcoin, is that every day there's new buyers being born. It's kind of like the video game industry. The olds who hate it die off, the new folks are buying it. And what we think is that once the election result is finalized, Moody's is going to downgrade U.S. sovereign debt, and that could be a catalyst for Bitcoin to catch up.
Doesn't gold correlate with the dollar and with M2 as well? And gold and Bitcoin seemed like the correlation broke down a couple of times recently.
Bitcoin is a chameleon. Its correlations change over time. It's hard to predict what it's going to be correlated with over the short term, over the long term.
But you really say it's because of the 21 million and it's fixed amount is out there, therefore the debasement of the currency favors that. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's
some people call that fairy dust.
It's a non-U.S. asset. It's an emerging markets asset. And while we were all hyperventilating about the election over the last week, BRICS had a conference in Russia. There's 6 new members of BRICS this year. So BRICS GDP is now greater than the combined GDP of G7. Of the 6 new members, 3 of them, Argentina, the UAE, and Ethiopia, are now mining Bitcoin with government resources. So there is tremendous urgency outside of the U.S. to find a way to circumvent the irresponsible fiscal policy that we've been running here in the U.S. In fact, Russia announced an initiative. Their sovereign wealth fund is going to invest in a regional initiative to build Bitcoin mining and AI infrastructure throughout BRICS with an idea of settling global trade in Bitcoin. So look, someday, I don't know if it's 5 years, 10 years, Putin's going to die. We're going to look to reintegrate some of these countries into the world financial system, and they're going to be trading with Bitcoin. What are we going to be doing?
By far the most interesting part of that clip was when Siegel brings up the BRICS nations. As he mentions, the growing multinational BRICS alliance held a conference in Russia last week where Bitcoin was a part of the agenda they discussed, particularly using it in international trade to reduce reliance on the US dollar. This obviously aligns with the BRICS' broader goal of de-dollarization, aiming to create a financial system less vulnerable to Western sanctions. Russian officials also propose that Bitcoin mined domestically could be sold internationally, allowing trade transactions to bypass traditional dollar-based systems. This would enable BRICS nations, especially those facing sanctions like Russia, to conduct trade more independently. Siegel also mentions that many of the BRICS nations are already mining Bitcoin, and with government resources. Seems like kind of a big deal, doesn't it? And speaking of de-dollarization, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was being asked a question the other day about her level of concern over the long-term strength of the dollar. And you seriously can't make this stuff up. The US Treasury symbol on her podium fell off.
Over a longer time horizon, how concerned are you about the potential impact of the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency?
Let's see.
It seems reality really is much more entertaining than fiction. This international trend of Bitcoin strengthening alongside the dollar weakening is something I think many people are completely missing in the Western world, and one that I expect will become increasingly clear in the coming months and years. The game theory of Bitcoin is unfolding before our very eyes, and yet so many still see it as funny internet money that can be speculated on to maybe get some more fiat. It is so much bigger than that, and smart institutional money is just starting to catch on. And you still have time to front run 95% of the world by getting off zero. If you're still on zero Bitcoin or have friends and family that are, send them to swan.com or download the app by searching Swan Bitcoin at the App Store. Swan has the quickest and easiest onboarding experience in the industry. Go from sign up to purchasing real Bitcoin within minutes. Plus, your first $10,000 in Bitcoin purchases have zero fees. So start front running 95% of the world today with Swan. Okay, that's it for today. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Have you been getting texts from friends and family asking about Bitcoin yet? Don't forget to like this video for the algo, share it around, and of course, subscribe to the channel for more high signal Bitcoin content. Thanks for watching.